You're going to be at Contact in the Desert, right? Is that
Yes, I will.
Is part of your presentation what you're talking about, these new protocols?
Most likely, yes. Yes.
Yeah, right on. Do you plan on having any like live demonstrations of anything, or does that even apply to what you're presenting?
I'll talk about it with an audience, and I have sort of a partial evidentiary technique, and it consists of, I have what I call a VE pin, a verifiable evidence pin. It's a 5 alphanumeric digit character or string, and I invite people to tell me what that is. And that's either through remote viewing, clairvoyance, what have you. And that is one proof protocol. And if people have the ability to do that, that's great. I've had a bunch of people try, and they've not done it so far. But for me, if they can do that, that's evidence of some type of awareness, and make a direct hit, and the odds are vanishingly low that they do that by chance. That's really indicative of some kind of knowledge that humans should not have. And if they can do that, now let's really investigate further. So that's one aspect of the protocol.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Wow. I hope I get to make it when I'm there for that. That sounds really interesting. It's something I'm really interested in right now, is that aspect, consciousness, psionics. I'm going down this journey with that specifically. You talked earlier about patterns and maybe new theories of origin or whatever. You know what? I guess, yeah, maybe this will tie in. When you talk about ESP, let's say, for instance, do you connect that with ufology? Like, does that go together?
Yeah, it's a good question. We have a tendency, especially in the West, to localize symptoms. Like, we have pain in our knee, so it must be coming from our knee.
Yeah.
As opposed to thinking holistically. And I think the same kind of striated thinking permeates our categorization of phenomena. I'm not at all sure that aliens and ghosts and DMT entities are fundamentally different. There may well be this common substrate from which various phenomena emerge, and they either instantiate in different ways at different times, or we perceive them in different ways because of cultural biases. But I just have this honking suspicion that just maybe there's a relationship between these phenomena. And indeed, one of the talks I give is what I consider the nexus between aliens, DMT, and Bitcoin.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. Bitcoin, yep. DMT, and aliens.
Yep. The Holy Trinity.
That's a perfect Friday night conversation right there. Okay. So we got like 10 minutes left. So I want to make sure that I get this in before we go here. I did see something on your Twitter about DMT. So what is sort of your, and have you tried DMT before, right? Or no? Or
yes, I have. So by way of background, I may or may not have done a lot of drugs when I was young, and I may or may not have had very long hair. And if I did, then I may have given it up at some point because I was just messing around, and I prefer clarity over distortion.
Sure.
But some years ago, I was with a friend of mine named Nova Spivak, who crash landed tardigrades on the moon, which is a pretty cool calling card. Yeah. And he knew about my father, and he asked me, "Hey, where did your father think UFOs came from?" I said, "I don't know, maybe interdimensional." He says, "You should read a book called Alien Information Theory." said, Alien Information Theory, that's like the sexiest book title ever. What's it about? He said, DMT. And I said, yeah, I don't know what that is. And he looks at me like, oh, you're somebody who should, I think, would know what DMT is. Okay.
Yeah.
And he said, well, the author, a guy named Andrew Gallimore, who's a PhD neurobiologist, theorizes that DMT really stands alone. And DMT is the most powerful psychedelic we know of, and is the chemical ingredient of ayahuasca, which is much better known.
Yeah.
And that DMT may not be a hallucinogenic psychedelic, but actually a plant medicine technology that allows you to see something that's very real. I said, fascinating. What that got? Oh, that's essentially maybe another dimension. And my father thought UFOs came from another dimension, perhaps. Maybe DMT, because I can't do a CE5 and summon craft, maybe I can try DMT, see if I get to that dimension, do kind of an end around the whole government disclosure bullshit, and just go to the source. All right, that's cool. Then 2 hours later, I met this new guy who starts telling me what he does, and he does breath work, and he facilitates DMT sessions. Like, whoa, did I just get double tapped in one day for DMT? And yes, I did. And so he kindly launched me on my DMT journey. And the first time I did it, I had a breakthrough experience, and I asked, hey, are you what we perceive to be behind UFOs and aliens? And the answer I got was, we can't explain in a way that you would understand. Like, wow. And so I became fascinated by DMT. And Andrew Gallimore, who wrote Alien Information Theory, I saw was speaking at Contact in the Desert 2 years ago. So I pitched the organizers of the conference and Gallimore on us doing a joint presentation at the conference on UFOs and aliens, and DMT. Wow. And everybody agreed, and we did. So I've become good friends with Andrew, and we've worked together on several projects. And I just feel that there's this tantalizing possibility that DMT may not be hallucinogenic and may be a gateway to another dimension that is perhaps inhabited by what we feel are aliens.
Yeah. Wow. There's a lot to unpack there. So you're saying this entity that you saw when you took DMT said, I can't explain, when you asked it that question, I can't explain it to you, or whatever he said to you. Was that like vocal? You heard that vocally? You felt like that was some sort of telepathic thing? I've never done DMT, but I have. I was in a band in my 20s, so I've definitely experimented and had some fun. But I also know those experiences are hard to trust.
Yeah. And look, let me say this. Even though a hallmark of what many people say after doing DMT is that it feels hyper real, doesn't mean that it is. And so this is a long shot. It's a Hail Mary, but I've done it more than a few times now and have had a lot of experiences with other people. And and Andrew Gallimore makes a really good neuroscientific case for why it may be real, what the exact pharmacological effects are in the brain. And so I'm not saying that these things are real, but that, look, I have a lot of friends, Steve Bassett, Richard Dolan, Danny Sheehan, and others who are working on disclosure. They got that covered. Zagazoon, fellas. I'm going to go this way here and see if I can't make progress there.
Sure.
And have some very transformative experiences in any case along the way.
That's a great attitude. I couldn't agree more with that, right? Like, who cares? Well, either way, it'll be fun. Right.
Yeah. And if I can find it, I'll show you an image I created in AI, which I think exemplifies the link between aliens, DMT, and Bitcoin. I don't know if you can see that here.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
That's the vibe. That's the vibe.
So that's the vibe you see visually when you take DMT? Is that what it? I've
Um,
never, never done it, so I don't know.
well, this is DMT, aliens, and Bitcoin together. So I see all kinds of
Yeah.
things. I see all everything you can imagine. Yeah, and I can't. It's not that I blanket endorse it. It's a very powerful psychedelic. People need to be very careful.
Of
But
course.
yeah, I just it's a transcendent experience.